Hi, I'm Chris Brook-Carter, the Managing Director of Retail Week and the World Retail Congress.
And hello, I'm Michael Clarke. I'm MD of DeHavilland.
Great. We're here to review what's been going on in the political landscape over the last couple of days here in the UK around Brexit, and really very fortunate that Essential has access to Michael and his brilliant team of analysts who are among the most informed people anywhere in the country. So, Michael, it'd be really interesting to get your views of what actually has gone on in the last couple of days.
It has been a very interesting couple of days. Late on Wednesday, the government published its draft withdrawal agreement and its future framework for working with the EU going forward. Now, there's been a slight backlash from the government, from its ministers. We've seen a few people resign. For example, the Brexit Secretary, Dominic Raab, who resigned on Wednesday. And interestingly, we've also seen one of the advisors to Theresa May, Nikki DaCosta, whose role it is to put legislation through the Parliament, also resign, giving an indication that there's going to be issues getting this withdrawal agreement and the withdrawal bill through Parliament. We've had Theresa May talking yesterday about how she's absolutely convinced in this agreement and is absolutely committed to putting it through Parliament. And so there's a couple of key dates that are going to be coming up. One of them is it's likely that the government will be putting this draft legislation to Parliament on the 7th of December. Now, at the moment, looking at the way things are going, it's unlikely the government are going to win that vote. That puts a lot of constitutional concerns about what the future will be. Will Theresa May stay as Prime Minister? And there's actually speculation that on Tuesday there'll be a no confidence vote in the Prime Minister. There will be 48 Conservative MPs who will be saying that they no longer have confidence within her, and there will then be a vote of all Conservative MPs about whether she should stay on as Prime Minister.
So, presumably, the Prime Minister was reasonably confident she was going to get this through a cabinet. So, can you explain to us what the sticking points are on both sides, from the point of view of the Brexiteers and the Remainers? Why so many people are up in arms about the deal that she's put on the table?
There's really two kind of key points. First one is around Northern Ireland, and the second one is around the extension of a transition agreement. So the agreement as it currently stands is that on the 31st of March we will leave the EU, and then there will be a transition agreement, a transition process where the UK has left the EU but remains governed by the EU. So the EU continues to create rules and regulations which we remain a part of. Now, during that process, there will be a continuation of negotiations to create a future free trade agreement. What will our future arrangement be with the EU? Now, typically, EU free trade agreements take 6 to 8 years. They've given themselves 18 months to do this.
Right.
So that's a very, very tight time frame.
Yeah.
So within the agreement, there's an extension. The government can, by July 2020, say that we need to extend this transition agreement. However, they've not given a deadline of how long they can extend that agreement for. The actual legislation just says it has to be this century.
Right.
So a particularly long time frame. The other side is the backstop. What would happen if by the end of that transition agreement we do not have a deal with the EU? And every single member state of the EU needs to agree to this, and Ireland has a particular problem with Northern Ireland not being part of the custom union. They need to have free trade between the north and the south. So during, as part of that backstop, Northern Ireland would remain part of the custom union, and the effective border would go down the down the Irish Sea.
Right.
So we're practically separating part of the UK from that. And that's really what the Brexiteers are arguing about. They really are saying that Northern Ireland is being treated differently to other parts of the UK.
Right. Now, you've already explained that Theresa May face a vote of no confidence on Tuesday, but I get really interesting to get your view of kind of what the 3 or 4 most likely scenarios now going forward politically for us as a country.
Politically, there will definitely, almost certainly be a no confidence vote on Tuesday. It is likely that the vote on this agreement will be on the 7th of December. It's probable that that will be rejected. There's then a negotiation on the 13th and 14th of December with the European Council. I would speculate that if Theresa May remains as Prime Minister, which is a question mark, that if that vote is turned down by Parliament, there could be a renegotiation of that agreement.
Right.
The EU has already said that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But that is the only alternative. If they vote for that, if they vote for a change and they vote for those transitional agreement changes and changes to Northern Ireland, it will go through Parliament. There is then a lot of other potential opportunities. If the Prime Minister loses that vote, will she then stand down, and will there be a new Prime Minister come in? Is there then a general election? If there's a general election, do we extend Article 50 and have a second referendum? That's conceivable.
And just to be clear, if she loses the vote of no confidence, will that trigger a general election?
Not necessarily.
Right.
What would then happen is there will be a process for selecting a new Prime Minister, a new leader of the Conservative Party. It is custom that when a new Prime Minister comes in, they call a general election, but it's not mandatory. They don't have to. Whether that will happen come January, let's say, that's a question mark. I think for legitimacy as a new Prime Minister, that's what they like to do. But given the situation and the timeframes that we're in, will we have time for calling a general election, then potentially a referendum before the 31st of March? It's more likely what they would do is go and try and get an extension of that period from the EU to say we're going to try and see if this is what the people really want. That's the likely outcome in that situation.
And if you were a betting man, would you bet on there being a deal or no deal?
Deal or no deal? I still firmly believe that there will be a deal. I believe that there will be a lot of uncertainty over the next few weeks with these no confidence votes, probably a vote against the withdrawal agreement within Parliament. But I believe that there will be a chance to come back with some changes to that, and that will then go back before the end of the year and get approval from Parliament.
Okay.
But that is a big, big if. There's a lot that's going to go on, and there's a lot that's going to be happening before the 7th of December when that goes to Parliament, where things can change. And it's changing literally every day.
So some hope that common sense may prevail eventually. Great. Michael, thank you very much. It's been absolutely fascinating.
Thank you very much.